Hello, everyone. This is Astrid Tuminez, president of Utah Valley University. I'm a member of the board of Silicon Slopes, and I'm delighted to be a guest host today on the Silicon Slopes podcast series, which is honoring the people who move the business community forward in Utah. And as you know, Silicon Slopes, everything tech in the state of Utah, everything entrepreneurial. We are so proud of that. I have two wonderful guests today from Utah Valley University. Seth Jenson, who leads our Chelsea and Casey Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute, and Hunter Anderton, an accounting student who is also a successful entrepreneur and a former warehouse worker. So he knows what hard work is. So what we'll do to begin is just, tell us a little bit about your origin story and how you ended up in the world of entrepreneurship. We'll start with you, Seth.
All right. Well, thank you, President. Thanks for having us. This is fun to have a conversation like this. So I am a Texas boy. I grew up I was born in Lubbock, Texas, grew up in Dallas, found myself here in Utah because I went to the other school. So I didn't even know about UVU at the time. I went where my siblings did. It's not my fault, but I attended BYU.
We still like you. We forgive you.
Thank you. I wore green pants today,
okay.
to be clear.
Yes.
So I went to BYU for finance, was my undergrad. And decided that business academics was worth a try. And so I went and did a master's in sociology and a PhD as well in strategy, both at the University of Oxford. My research looked into early stage entrepreneurship from a strategic angle. And then near the end of my PhD, I was doing a bunch of research for the university in kind of a consulting capacity about entrepreneurship centers. And so that's where this came to be. I became passionate about programs and entrepreneurship kind of through that pathway, and the rest is history. So that's.
And I know you've consulted as well, like for India and then for large academic institutions.
Yeah.
And when did you join UVU?
Right. So 2024, I had just finished a major consulting project for Oxford, which involved collaborating with, like you say, all the major players in this space, right? So I spent time on the East Coast US working with MIT and Babson. Most people don't know Babson. It's an undergraduate.
It's a great business
incredible
school there.
They're kind of have for a long time been leading the charge in entrepreneurship education. Harvard, MIT, and then I went and spent time at Berkeley, Stanford, as well as the incubators. So Mass Challenge, Techstars, Y Combinator, and basically was just hoovering up all the best practices from these organizations so that I could, at that time, bring them home to Oxford when I was preparing for this moment here at UVU because I got the call from the previous director at UVU who I'd been working with as part of these consulting projects. And she's like, I think you should apply for this role. And then we had a wonderful conversation and you took a bet on me and it's been magical.
Yeah. So Texas boy, former Cougar turned Wolverine. Tastes improve over time.
Yeah.
Okay. Hunter, tell us about yourself, your origin story.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have kind of the classic entrepreneur as a dad, just was trying to instill into me that you can create greater value than working by the hour since I was a little kid. I worked for a painting company one summer in high school, and the next summer he was like, no, you're going to run your own painting company and you're going to figure it out and we're going to paint fences. And so that kind of started me on the trail. I definitely didn't consider myself an entrepreneur until the very recent past. But I've always just kind of had that exposure and kind of seen the really cool opportunities that entrepreneurship can bring. And really it's been the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute that's been able to bring that out in me and make me a committed entrepreneur. Which we'll talk a lot more about.
And you're an accounting student, and accounting is normally not the most entrepreneurial field of study, but very useful.
I see it twofold. So like accounting is like traditionally probably one of the more structured business roles, but at the same time, I think it makes you realize, accounting is all about finding net profit, right? And so it makes you realize what amazing opportunities there are in entrepreneurship and how pushing the needle can be a great opportunity. So,
yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Seth, when we hired you, one of the most important things to me was just speed. Where everybody has great ideas, but very few can execute with speed. And you have actually done all of it with speed. So talk about maybe the top 3 programs at the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute at UVU and what each is doing.
Sure. Yeah. So I'll kind of talk to maybe our maybe core 3. We were doing a lot of things. It's been a busy 2 years. But our bread and butter, kind of the engine, I think, of the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute is something we call the Zero to CEO program. And what we tried to do is build a kind of turnkey solution for students that had aspirations. And that's all we ask of them is you need to desire to build a business now. You don't need to have an accounting degree. We love working with accounting degrees because they know the fundamentals of business. But the reality is we want students coming from the art department, we want them coming from the English department, and having a place where they can take that ambition, that desire of like, oh, I just want to work for myself. I want to paint murals. I worked with 2 muralists this semester. I know I have this skill set. I want to learn how to monetize it. I want to build a scalable, sustainable business. So the Zero to CEO program takes them from that moment of desire. We say at zero to revenue by the end of the semester. And we do that through a combination of bringing in this incredible community of mentors, lining students up in 7 industry-specific pathways. So if you want to be a freelancer, we've got a track just for freelancing. You're going to meet with freelancing professionals that have made it work. They're just like you, and you're going to be able to execute along that pathway. If you're a tech entrepreneur, we've got a pathway for tech SaaS kind of businesses and everything in between, CPG, e-commerce, food and beverage. We launched this year for the first time. So there's kind of these very industry specific pathways that'll get students to revenue by the end of the semester. And that's been magical. So our first.
So from starting to revenue within one semester.
Within one semester.
Okay.
And to be perfectly honest, when we launched the pilot last year, my expectation was like, man, if these 75 students can do $50,000 during the semester, that'd be amazing, right? I mean, that would be a real sinking their teeth into it experience. But as you know, in that first pilot year, 75 students did over $500,000 in revenue during the semester.
Amazing.
And should I spoil? We just got some of the numbers from this semester. I'm trying.
Spoil it. Yes. Give me good news.
I was going to wait till the gala in March, but for you, President.
But give us a range.
I will say it is over 7 figures this year.
Wow.
So we have 128 students that during the semester did over $1 million. It's actually significantly over $1 million during the semester. And what I'm really proud of is, say 1 in 10 of these students are bringing something to the class already. They have a little bit of revenue. They've started, but 9 out of 10 are truly coming from zero. And then by the end of the semester, this semester, it's been over 75% did have revenue, all contributing to that number. Multiple 0 to 6 figure stories this semester. I mean, just incredible things. And again, over half of these students are outside the business school. This is their first touch with business in the real world. Yeah. And yet
but they had an idea. They have the desire. They want to put in the work.
I want to be a fashion entrepreneur.
Yes.
I want to be an author. I want to, build this window company, whatever it might be. We help support them. So that's Zero to CEO. And again, there's just magic in that class. And we're trying to scale that to hundreds more students a year. In fact, we have an exciting collaboration with Science Bank that is funding this moving forward for our students, which is going to let us, we're hoping to do 300 students every year through this program. Another really cool program it actually just is a rebranding. So it started as the Wolverine program. In fact, one of your interns, your previous interns, was a guinea pig in this program. But it kind of reverses the model. Most universities are like, hey, let's help these snot-nosed kids learn how to build businesses.
Yeah.
And the hard part is, and no offense, Hunter, but when you're that age,
you don't know very much.
You don't know very much. You haven't had time to develop expertise. It's not a matter of will or grit. It's a matter of purely time.
Lack of experience.
Exactly.
Also,
And so the reality is they don't have an eye for a good idea versus a bad idea necessarily. They don't have social capital that's going to source good ideas or opportunities to buy businesses. And so it's a heavy lift. Yet in Utah Valley, we have this just incredible network of successful serial entrepreneurs who are now kind of rich and lazy. And they have all of these ideas that are just sitting, getting dusty in their heads. And yet they're things that could provide a lot of value in the marketplace. Or they have their neighbor knocking on their door, hey, buy my business. And they're like, well, I'd like to own your business, but I don't really want to operate your business day to day. So we have all these amazing ideas, these resources, this incredible expertise. And then we have these students that have all this motivation and grit. And so the Wolverine program basically matched them together and helped them launch businesses.
That's Wolverine with an INC at the end.
Exactly. Yeah. And basically launch, either build or buy businesses together and with equity pathways for the student to earn majority ownership of the company. So that's the magic. Is it's kind of this bridging the generational divide so that students can have ownership. We're excited this year that that's being expanded. BYU has wanted to join us in this effort. And so they've We just kind of this month, actually, beginning of this semester, we reached kind of a limited launch to a bunch of BYU and UVU alumni as investors. And we're going to be spinning that out to students with the goal of making this Wasatch Front-wide and then statewide.
Scale it.
And then bring it on, because this model, I think, is one that works. And then really quickly, I'll just mention a third program that's really powerful is called the Wing Society. But this, in fact, Hunter has been involved in the Wing Society, walked away with a fair bit of cash actually from it. But this is trying to improve on the way that students get funding at universities, because a lot of the time it's just all about a flashy pitch and they walk away and go to Disneyland with some winnings. And this is trying to add more value to that experience where, and in this particular, we have some milestone funding for early moments just to help them get started. But for students in the growth stage, we're able to sit down with groups of angel investors who treat it like an investor meeting. And they give a little bit of equity-free cash to those that they think are ready. In fact, we kind of track their progress, and the ones that make the most bets get bragging rights, or the best bets, I should say. But anyway, this Wing Society are real investors sitting down with students in the growth stages, talking about the fundamentals of their businesses, talking about the growth strategies, and then often investing alongside.
And also mentoring, giving some guidance, which is great.
So it's a really powerful program.
It's sweat and money and know-how and wisdom, hopefully.
Yeah.
So those are amazing programs. And also I want to say to you that how quickly you got this off the ground and running and scaling at UVU. It's like nothing short of a miracle. It's so impressive. So to the listeners out there, hire the right people. Take an interest in the people you're hiring, because they will make all the difference. Seth mentioned the word desire, and I want to turn to Hunter now. In my own life, I found the desire to have something or do something is critical. It's a motivator. It will help you move mountains. It will help you survive battles and, crying on the ground. It will help you get up. So talk about the role of desire, and then talk about your company. It's called Simple, right?
Yeah.
What it does. And how, I think within 6 months, you reached profitability. So first the desire, and then the building of it, and then, what got you to this success in just half a year?
Absolutely. I think that I am naturally a person who really just likes helping people. And I think that is really like the core of Simple is we are trying to help our customers. And so I was given an opportunity a couple of years ago just to do a little bit of, it was more so tech consulting. A founder that I knew growing up had he knew that I was ambitious, and he had some people in his company. It's a long story, but basically there's some older folks that needed some technical help, setting up servers, running blockchain. That's what Simple does.
Wait, how did you become a tech guy?
How did I become a tech guy?
Yes.
Honestly, this is the start of it. I love computers. I love tinkering. Okay. It's just fixing problems. And there's really nothing more to that. I mean, it was and for me, going into helping these people, it was a pretty simple set of instructions of log into Google, run these things, whatever. But for the clientele that I was helping, a lot were 60s, 70s that were trying to invest, trying to utilize their money to earn cryptocurrency. And it was just a lot over their head. And so I was able to just kind of really, I wasn't special at all. I just had a cool opportunity and to help these people. And I saw the problem. I saw that there's this gap between, my clients now and running this software and doing it in a way that that made sense to them. So there's this gap between the blockchains that we work with. So they're companies that are selling licenses, they're selling pieces of software to be able to access their cryptocurrency, and you have to run it in between. But because the in-between. And we are the in-between. Okay. Because it can't look like an investment, and because there is a workload for their reasons, the compliantly they aren't supposed to help customers with this process. It's supposed to be decentralized. That's part of blockchain. And so that's where entrepreneurship really became special and magical to me, and where my desire flamed was hitting a point where my customers were excited to talk to me because I was able to help them participate in this thing that they couldn't otherwise. And
solve a problem. You're solving a problem for them.
Right. And so then when that, ability to help people and make a profit lined up, that was the magical moment for me.
How many employees does Simple have?
We have a team of about 10 at the
10,
moment.
so it's still fairly small.
Yep.
And how do you make sure that every person on that fairly small team, has the same desire to make Simple as helpful as possible to a growing market, growing customer base?
Yeah, I mean, company culture is a complicated topic and is hard to master. And I'm certainly not going to say I'm a master, but I think that just approaching every problem that comes to me or whenever my employees or associates have questions or whatever that looks like, I think that conveying the opportunity we have to help people.
Okay.
I think all the way from our customer support, getting to chat with these people and see like what a technically hard process this would be for them and seeing that transformation and their excitement when they're able to get helped in our through our service, all the way to the devs who, are remote and coding and kind of in their own little
their own world.
basement,
Yes.
but conveying to them that like we are helping people and we're,
there's a
people are
meaning
excited.
to what
Right,
you're doing.
Right.
You said your dad's an entrepreneur.
Uh-huh.
Was your dad ever honest with you about the hard part of entrepreneurship? I've seen many grown men cry.
Yeah.
They talk about it, what they did to succeed.
Yeah.
And grown women too. So how did your dad show you or teach you about the hard parts of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I don't think he told me about the hard parts of entrepreneurship, but I think what he did that was really stuck with me and helped me to grow in a meaningful way. That's the same that the Baugh Entrepreneurship does. Is he gave me hands-on experience. Like he talked to my neighbors 2 doors down, was like, set up a painting job for me, and then I had to go do it.
Okay.
Right. And so in a similar way, the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute, like it gives you these opportunities. It doesn't necessarily hand you clients, but it hands you valuable mentors that are going to like help you along the way. It gives you strategies and tactics to be able to be successful. And I think that the hard part of entrepreneurship is that you just end up with like a loyalty. Like at this point, we had a crazy launch this morning that was really stressful. But I now have these employees that I care about. Mm-hmm. I have my customers that I care about. And so I have to show up to like make it happen for them. And
absence is not an option. Neither is failure.
Right. You have to make it work. You have to like follow through. And I have, I'm blessed to have 4,500 customers, but like that means that I have to wake up every day and take care of them because they trust me enough to pay me. And so I need to follow through on that. And I have a duty to them.
Yeah. And it works, the loyalty to your employees and loyalty to your customers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Utah for a few minutes and maybe UVU, Utah Valley University, as the largest university in the state. What are your observations on factors that make Utah and UVU in particular a great place for entrepreneurship? And that's a very general question, but talk about your own very specific observations. Let's start with you, Seth.
Yeah, that's a huge topic. We could definitely talk a lot about that. And I've worked in enough international contexts for what UVU is trying to do to know that it is truly magical and special. People might not know this, but Utah hits above its weight in terms of venture capital per capita, unicorns per capita. We have it culturally.
Yeah.
We have it in terms of social capital and expertise. We've got great universities that are providing research that turn into great things. But it's just in the water. Again, there's this kind of cultural bias towards self-sufficiency bleeds over into the marketplace. Mm-hmm. We could even talk about the religious structures and how that actually sorts for economic. The leaders of the local churches tend to be well off because they have to spend a lot of time serving.
And there are studies on that, how helpful that is. It's a network, social capital.
Exactly. So the odds are if you're active in any of these communities that Utah is full of, people that are entrepreneurs or successful professionals in these different capacities. And so that allows you to find your first client or that mentor that's going to be key or your first investor in a way that's incredibly efficient compared to other ecosystems. So there's kind of the nitty gritty. But there's also just this willingness to to go fast. So you mentioned we've been building fast at the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute, and we have, but it's only because you, as the president and your cabinet, gave us space.
I'm a slave driver.
No, not at all. You gave us space to do that. I remember specifically in our very first interview, you said, this is a situation where you can ask forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
And I took full advantage of that, more than probably you'd even like to know. But as a state, there's also that mentality, even among the legislature and the government. So the startup state and Nucleus and all these different organizations that are geared towards clearing a path for entrepreneurs. That's very unique. There's a lot of other countries and universities and states looking to replicate that model. Again, it's a multifaceted thing going back hundreds of years in terms of the founding of this, as well as our current institutions. But at the end of the day, the result is we're spoiled for choice when it comes to industry partners, mentors, capital. Like we just have it all just within spitting distance.
And what about students? What are your observations of our students? Because you mentioned that at UVU, it's not just the business students. Right. In fact, in my view, entrepreneurship is a mindset.
Yes.
You could be running a charity or you could be the pastor of a church, and yet you could be an entrepreneur. So what makes me so happy is to see art students and English majors, philosophy, science majors, everybody participating. Yeah. So what are your observations about students at UVU who are, attempting this thing called entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. Yeah. One of my favorites along those same lines is to this semester, I helped a stand-up comedian in our Zero to CEO, and he sold out his first 2 shows as part of the semester, right?
Wow.
Anyway, so you're right. I love the diversity and the fact that they all have a pathway. UVU students are magical. So again, I came from elite universities where it was so intense to even show up to be at the university. The magic of UVU is it's open enrollment. Like our mission is to educate everyone and to support everyone, to change the trajectory of all of our students. And we attract people who are looking for trajectory changes and are willing to lean into the opportunities that they find. And so I find an intentionality with our students that is incredibly powerful, where they're looking for that ladder, that next rung. They're looking for the opportunity to advance their career, advance their social capital, their human capital. It's honestly incredibly inspiring, because I could have built the same pathways at other universities, but it would have not been met with the same hunger and fire that our students come at it. And again, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an accounting student. You don't have to be a summer sales bro.
Yeah.
These are novelists that have been slaving away in their dorms, writing beautiful things, and are now approaching the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute to bring it to the world stage, right? The word that comes to mind is intentionality. We talk about grit a lot, and that's true. But that alone isn't enough. I think they're really looking for something. Yeah,
your desire is real, intentionality. And I think at UVU, the composition of the student body itself, I often like to mention, we are 41% first generation. Right. So 41% of our students are first to attempt college. So that alone, there is a certain hunger and a certain willingness to listen, to good advice. Hunter, what are your observations of your peer students in terms of the spirit of entrepreneurship and the willingness to try? And have you employed any UVU students in Simple?
Put me on the spot. I love it. I don't actually think we've employed any UVU students, to my chagrin. I think that we actually have tried, now that I think about it, but it didn't end up working out for a reason or another.
That's fair.
But I love the UVU student body, and I think that there's a great strength that comes from, like Seth mentioned, the diversity among the student body. I mean, as an open enrollment university, there are just so many more individuals with unique perspectives, with different talents, than I think that, get you into prestigious university. And I really think that that's UVU's strength comes from that, plastered on the walls is a place for you. And I think that, by helping people to feel that, by helping people to feel confident in who they are. I think that entrepreneurship was all about confidence. And so by UVU giving everyone an opportunity to have a very high quality education and to have very high quality experiences, to be surrounded by valuable mentoring networks, I like entrepreneurship just comes down to the confidence in yourself to go out and do something crazy. And UVU, just those factors make UVU a particularly special place to do so.
Okay, so confidence is important, but also I think the ability to fail is also important. Your father helped you with an early painting business, but and now you are CEO of Simple. Have you ever had a failure? Have you had a failure yet? Because I think that is the next
'Cause
thing
it's
that you
on
need
its
to
way.
experience. I'm just saying that let me share a little story today. I was lunching with a filmmaker, and in the Sundance Institute, where all these amazing directors workshop their ideas, like the director of Black Panther, for example. And he made this statement that he was born as an artist during the workshop, where the person reviewing his work said, "This is not good enough." So talk about that a little bit. I don't know if you've had a failure yet, and if you haven't, you're gonna have one, and that will be very good for you. But talk a little bit about failure.
Yeah, I think the failure is so important. I haven't had a traditional, I've been very blessed. I call myself lucky. I think that all entrepreneurs are lucky to some extent.
Yeah.
And I haven't had my family's going to get evicted and foreclosed and we're in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. But I think that I fail each day. And I think that, there are always more opportunities, always things for us to capitalize on. And there are certainly opportunities that I've missed that I have deep regrets about, that inspire me every day to do better than the last. And you certainly have to be ready for failure at any moment. I'm in the at core, I'm in the cryptocurrency industry. That could change. It changes not even month to month, day to day.
Doge was big for a while.
Right. And so I think that I've definitely come to have a really healthy relationship with failure. Just 2 weeks ago, we had a primary client where they were talking about discussing or replacing some of our services that would have, had massive implications on the business. As an entrepreneur, you just have to have a much bigger palette for risk, for sure. And I've been really blessed to not have any catastrophic failures yet, but I know that they're coming, and I'm dreading it, but I'm excited at the same time because it's fundamental.
We're going to bring you back to the Silicon Slopes podcast in 10 years, okay? After you've founded your third company and maybe one or two, no, but you mentioned the word luck too, which is important, but the thing is never give up. Often in many stories about entrepreneurship, it is at that point, like Kate Spade, the apartment was filled with purses from floor to ceiling she couldn't sell. Mm-hmm. Actually, it was when the business turned, so the grit and not giving up. Do you want to add anything to failure, Seth?
Well, yeah, I wonder too if we can even recharacterize it, because I think about your experience, President, and I'm sure you could list a few failures. You've been doing a lot of things in your career, but I see so much reinvention of yourself along your career. You've been involved in international politics, and you've been involved in, you just threw yourself into the investment world at one point in your career. Now you're running a university.
I call myself a charlatan of the best kind.
Or a Renaissance woman.
Or a Renaissance woman.
But you've had to reinvent yourself and develop this new area of expertise that previously had been inaccessible to you. And in some ways, that's what failure is too, where you're having to reassess and say, okay, my expertise wasn't complete in this. Now I've got to reinvent myself and compensate and throw myself into understanding the world better and understanding how I can operate in it more effectively. And so failure sounds so binary, whereas I think in so much of what we do with our entrepreneurs in the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute is we're trying to foster expertise, and that only comes through struggle, and it comes through reinventing yourself and willing to put yourself in the hard places where failure is very, very likely, or at least struggle. And so, and I look at our students, and they're so early in this journey, right? And we're trying to accelerate that journey and give them a sense of the scope that's available to them. But, Hunter, this is business one. Yeah. And I know he's already thinking about business too, and the different things, right? His expertise. That's
why we're going to interview him again in 10 years.
And I'll give an example from my own experience. Right now, I'm working with the government of India, some of their kind of government bodies that help try to transform the economic landscape in India. And it's been incredibly humbling for me because I'm very familiar with Europe. I'm very familiar with the US. and I'm not as familiar
Yes.
in this entirely different context.
Yes,
And so I
of
have
a billion plus people.
a massive
Yes.
economy, diverse culturally, the
Yes.
language, like all of these different things. And so I'm having to approach it and reinvent myself so I can provide value in this
Mhm.
context.
Mhm.
Because I do have something to offer, but I have to retool to be able to actually
Mhm.
drive impact for these different government bodies and ultimately the people that they're serving. And so I'm going to rebrand it as expertise and reinvention.
Yes. Well, in the famous book, Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck, uh, failure should never be essentialized as like the end. It's always, what story am I going to tell myself?
Mhm.
I'm not going to tell myself I'm stupid or I'm a failure.
Right.
I'm going to tell myself I made some mistakes. What did I learn?
Mhm.
Because that's how growth happens. What do you say to someone who's really discouraged when they've worked 18 hours a day on a business and they're running out of money and bad things are happening? You've given up your car, you've maxed out your credit cards. What advice would you give to the entrepreneur who finds herself in that situation, Hunter?
That is a great, and it's a really hard question because it's just it's like really easy to be excited about business when it's in the context of business, but when it starts to have effects on your personal life, it gets really difficult. I actually, you mentioned I worked in a warehouse. There was a time where I was getting married and still in the early phases of Simple, and my fiance at the time came to me and was like, Hunter, we don't make enough money. Like you need to do something to like be able to afford, our schooling and I love the company, but like, we're just not at a place where this can happen. And so I went and worked at a warehouse. I was really fortunate with the experiences I had there. I had great bosses that gave me awesome opportunities, but that is just a really hard situation. I mean, just keep going. It's like you just mentioned from the growth mindset, is that failure isn't an end. Failure is like a step on the path, and it defines who you are. And there are many great entrepreneurs that just have these terrible moments of failure.
But do you have a hack? I want to hear a hack. Like
hack.
eat ice cream.
Yeah.
Have some dark chocolate.
Okay.
Go skydiving.
Okay. I like it. Come
gotta
back
be a
to me. I would
mountain
love
guru
I would love to have a good hack.
Have a hack. I did go skydiving, and I know you said something about entrepreneurship as skydiving, but you don't have to build your parachute while going down. You actually have help like the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute. But I did go skydiving, and I loved free fall. It was in California. It was a minute of free fall, and I never felt better in my life.
Yeah.
It's
like I have no
magical.
control. Let's just go.
Mhm.
What would you say to someone discouraged, Seth?
Skydiving is a great option. Honestly, I've been twice. I highly recommend. What I always tell our students is that you are the product. Like at the end of the day, in terms of you're on this entrepreneurial journey, and it's 2 steps forward, 10 steps backwards. And so if you're trying to judge your success purely by things like revenue, which matter, or growth or whatever it might be, or this obstacle or the next, you're missing the point. Because again, if you're learning from the situation, then it's success, right? Because again, expertise is always hard fought. If you're going to add value, it means you've gone off the path.
Yeah.
Like that's by definition, right? If you only know what everybody else knows,
Yeah.
you're not actually helping anyone, right? That's redundant. And so the value is created when you're willing to go off the path, and that necessarily is more difficult than staying on the path. And so if you're the one taking the risks, and you're the one having the hard times, and you're the one having to overcome the next thing, then you're growing, and that growth is only going to pay dividends as you move forward. And
So the product is you, and nothing is ever lost.
exactly.
Both the wins and the losses, the black eyes and the sunny days. It's you. You are producing. You're making yourself in this process.
Like it's cliche. I know the Edison about I know how to not make a light bulb 1,000 different ways,
Yeah.
right? I know that's cliche, but it's accurate. Like it took that tinkering, it took that hard work, it took all of those attempts for him to become an expert
Yes.
in what all the different factors it takes to be
Or
successful.
Dyson and his vacuum. I think he had 1,000 prototypes.
Yeah.
So have you come up with a hack
Yes,
yet?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Let's hear it.
I'll take hot showers. So I think that it's really easy in the intense opportunities where life feels really overwhelming to just be trying to take the next couple steps and not know where you're going. And sometimes you have to do that. But I think it's often very wise to take a couple steps back and to look at your whole picture and to stand for a moment and figure out where you're going. And hot showers, what I like to do for that. I'm sure that there are billions of dollars of revenue that have been made from hot shower thoughts. But like there are some bigger entrepreneurs that have done something similar.
That's HUSH, hush hour.
Hot showers.
Oh, hot showers.
Yeah,
Sorry, I wasn't hearing that.
Oh no, you're great.
Oh yes, physics problems, Nobel prizes have been won from hot showers.
No.
I was wondering for a while.
That's right.
Okay,
that must be German.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
It's one of the great tech founders. I want to say Steve Jobs. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Jeff Bezos. But they talk about how they would take a week out of the year and go to a cabin in the woods and just like let their mind think.
Yeah.
Or walks are
Walks
right.
are great, or
right.
quiet runs
And
without a headset.
It's really important that you find what that is for you so that you can like break down, process, because we all make decisions for a reason. And it's easy just when you're in that moment of adrenaline and stress to just get caught up and not like remember the reasonings and why you've done what you've done and how you've gotten to where you are and how to move forward.
Yeah.
So I think that, and I'm sure that skydiving is a great way to clear your head. So it's
I can't do it
probably
every day,
along
though.
the same, sure, for sure.
If memory serves, I think one of the times we were talking, President, you mentioned you take cold showers.
Yes.
Or at least for a spell, you were taking cold showers. So maybe the extremes, it sounds like, are where the unlocks happen.
That's right.
I'm not such a fan of the cold showers. That I grew up without any running water in the hut that I grew up in. So I had my first access to a shower when I moved to America. And access to water. But I think this is a metaphor, the hot shower, not the hush hour.
Yeah, that's right.
We may have invented different terms.
The hush hour.
I think that is a metaphor for understanding your own humanity and how you are not a machine. How do you replenish your own spirit? How do you feed your own soul? And one of the things that I talk about a lot actually is solitude. So when you talk about CEOs that take a week off or, go to Death Valley for a few days, I don't think that you live a full life if you do not understand what the equivalent of that for you, that solitude is for me. It is solitude. I think we are almost out of time. Let me just give you the last word on, just advice to anyone who is dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur. And it can be wacky advice. Just what would you say to anyone wanting to become an entrepreneur and blazing their own original trail instead of being a salaried cog in the wheel?
Oh, I've got a great one. Come to UVU.
Yes.
Join the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute. No joke. Like the opportunity. Here's the thing. So entrepreneurship is scary because of risk, right? It's all the time that we'll pour into it. Or if you're a product business, you're probably going to pour money into beta testing and that's the tech word. Prototyping. Yes. Right. And that's scary, right? Mm-hmm. That's what's going to stop a lot of people. When you remove the risk for time and you can use those hours to get school credit, like the entire equation is totally different. Yes. And like when you have a sophisticated mentor network, like Seth talked about the Wings Society.
Yes.
I have these 6 gentlemen, 2 different groups that whenever I see them at networking opportunities, they come to me and ask how the business is doing, not because they're invested in they're breathing down my throat, but they're just genuinely interested in like how my success is. And those are 6 like very intellectual and seasoned entrepreneurs that I have that are like rooting for me,
Yes.
That's special. And so I know that not everyone is in Utah Valley and has that amazing opportunity, but I think that just finding a network around you, like building your support network. I'm really blessed to have amazing friends, family, wife, and to be a part of the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute, honestly. And so building that network, like we're all blessed. I think this is a majorly Utah audience, if I had to guess. We're all blessed with neighbors who have side hustles, like Seth talked about earlier. And so to answer your question earlier about what makes Utah special, the thought I had come to my head is that we love to help people and we love winning. And when you are
That's
able,
good.
like
Yeah.
we're very
Combine
competitive,
both.
right?
Yeah.
And so when you have mentors that feel like they're on your
Yeah.
team, then they can help you
Yeah.
and they can feel like they're winning too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's just special. And
Yeah,
so
so-
building up a network.
Yeah. So to all the listeners, I mean, you heard it straight there from Hunter Anderton. If you are a budding entrepreneur, go to Utah Valley University and join the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute. Okay,
Yeah.
Seth.
Well, and it's even easier because we're excited. We'll be starting in 2026. We'll be expanding a lot of what we do into the Business Resource Center in Orem. And so we're actually going to have community facing programs. And so if you're not at
Wow.
the stage
Very
where
cool.
you want to come back and do a degree type class, we're going to have a lot of the same offerings for the community starting in 2026. So that's exciting. And that's in partnership with Orem City and a lot of other awesome partners that are making that happen. So that's exciting. It's easier than ever, which is great. And I'm really grateful that Hunter brought up the generosity here. That was
Yes.
missing in the equation that I gave earlier, because I am stunned by the generosity of, we built our program on 3 principles. And I think I've mentioned most of them. Industry specificity is critical so that people can get their people and targeted mentoring and feedback on their business, targeted instruction. It's all experiential. It's all real. None of it's hypothetical. But the other third critical component is that it's community powered.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only been possible because there's been so many people that wanted to pass it forward, want to be involved in changing a young person's life. And so they've given time and resources. And again, this kind of bridging of the generations has been really fun to see
Mhm.
at the Baugh Entrepreneurship Institute. So thank you for bringing up that element, because it's so important. And so the question was advice, right?
Yes,
And for
yes,
someone that's
yes.
thinking about taking the plunge, find that thing that you're passionate and excited about. Because I agree with you, President. It's about entrepreneurship isn't necessarily about building a business. It's
Yeah.
about doing something in the world, creating valuable things in the world. Some of my favorite entrepreneurs are artists because they inherently intuit value.
Yes.
Because art is about making things that
Yes.
are valuable. So they've got their own expression, they've got their own spin on sculpture or music or whatever it might be. And so they get value. So find that thing that you just want to bring to life in the world.
Yes.
And then surround yourself by people that value it as much as you do. And then just make it, learn by doing and trying to bring that child into the world, so to speak. And remember, you're the product. That's the thing, is even if it's hard, you're going to know a little bit better tomorrow how to make that valuable thing come to life than you did today. And so it's about keeping going and surrounding yourself by people that inspire you too.
Yeah. That's such a great note on which to end, because I think at the end of the day, I said earlier, entrepreneurship is not just about business. Entrepreneurship is a mindset, and entrepreneurship is actually an attitude to life. Yep. That whatever you're dealt with, that you as you get to know yourself and what is it, life is finite. Time is finite. And when you feel a calling to do something, whether that's in art or religion or business or technology.
Or running a university. Which I never intended to do, but somehow I ended up here. And I think I have brought that same entrepreneurial spirit to UVU, because I believe that you can run fast, you can create, you can be original, you can be secure in your identity, know your place in the marketplace, and compete without any hesitation or embarrassment or fear. So we are out of time. I love my colleagues. I love students at UVU. And I'm so grateful today to Seth Jenson and Hunter Anderton for joining us. Please listen to Silicon Slopes podcast. There's always value here. Thank you.